Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached double digits of the official episodes, not counting our holiday specials. This is episode number 10 of the Spillin It podcast. And it's really like seeing the plane take off for the first time. I finally know what the Wright brothers felt when they saw their invention take off. It's just a different era at this point now. I think we're established and we're having a good time.
I mean, we're only 50 episodes away from syndication where local cable stations can start airing our episodes. So, we just keep chugging along, Jesse, and we'll get there.
And it wouldn't be an actual episode if we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Jesse, that's Ben. We're already about a minute into recording and we're just saying our names. It's a tough scene, but here we are.
We've grown the number of episodes, but not as podcast hosts.
I feel like we've gotten better in some aspects of this, We're a little more comfortable. But
I think
thanks for
we've
hanging with
passed
us.
three times in our
We
podcast history for rate and subscribe, like and subscribe.
Please give us attention. We got a fun show ahead for you. This is actually going to be, ironically, the first episode in Spillin' It history where we do not talk about the NFL. This is going to be a little different for us. I know the vast majority of our time spent on air has been breaking down the NFL, but we didn't really see a need to. We already gave you our conference champions and our Super Bowl predictions. We'll check in over the next couple weeks with the playoffs and NFL awards, but for now, let's talk some baseball. Talk some baseball. The ballot for the Baseball Hall of Fame is out. And Ben, I know baseball is not normally your top sport that you go to for your viewing, but you do know ball. You are a genuine ball knower,
Former
and
minor league baseball employee,
that is true.
at the team and national level.
And I also give you an insane amount of credit for being a fan of everyone's favorite minor league baseball team, the Colorado Rockies.
Correct.
And with that being said, I just wanted to kind of have a segment here dedicated to if we had a vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame, who would we put on our ballot this year? So
Can I
I'll
make
go
one?
ahead.
Can I make one side comment to derail the
Yes.
conversation right
Of
before
course, I
you
mean, it
do it?
wouldn't be a Spillin' It pod unless you did.
I just want to comment that you know how everybody always talks about like this year it's could Indiana beat the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Would the best college football team beat the
No.
the worst NFL team? And the answer is always they would get obliterated off the face of the earth.
It would be
It
unsafe.
would never be close. I don't know, man. The AAA national champions could probably take the Rockies, but there's not really a lot of difference between the talent on those teams.
It's gonna be
It's
close.
obviously different because they're all professionals, but that is the one
Still.
sport where I'm like, I mean, it's baseball. Like, who knows?
Yeah. So here is the official ballot for this year. I'll go ahead and just read all the names and we'll go and each share who we
You're gonna
think
read all
is the
27?
worst. Oh yeah, I got the whole list right
Oh,
here.
I
Why
love
not?
it.
So we got Bobby Abreu, Carlos Beltran, Ryan Braun, Mark Burley, Sin-Chu Chu, Edwin Encarnacion, Gio Gonzalez, Alex Gordon, Cole Hamels, Felix Hernandez, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones, Matt Kemp, Howie Kendrick, Nick Markakis, Daniel Murphy, Dustin Pedroia, Hunter Pence, Andy Pettit, Rick Porcello, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Francisco Rodriguez, no relation, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Omar Vizquel, and David Wright. And the first thing that jumps off for me on this ballot is that I feel insanely old seeing these names on here of
Yup.
guys that we grew up watching. The one that just like immediately I started seeing gray coming out my beard was Jimmy Rollins. I was like, oh dear,
See, for
what is
me, it
happening?
was it was Felix Hernandez. I was like, oh my
That's
God,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
already there. Like, that's crazy.
So, with that being said, I'll give you the floor. Who are your Hall of Famers? Now, with that being said, there's really no limits to how many you can pick in Baseball Hall of Fame, which I think is a pretty cool rule. You can pick as many or as few. Now, if you are one of those sports writers who puts in a blank ballot every year, you're a coward, but that's beside the point.
Or the one guy that didn't vote Ichiro.
Oh my gosh, take his vote away.
Yeah, he should not have a vote. So couple obviously I have a couple comments. Number one, you never see anybody with like 0% of the ballot, right? It's very
Right.
rare if you make this ballot that you get 0%. Whoever is like the 0.1% that votes Nick Markakis into the Hall of Fame, like I just want to come outside, I want to talk. Um, yeah, so I had two that I feel like should be in the Hall of, or two that I would vote in today. One that I'm like, I feel like I need to sit with it more. And I feel like he kind of deserves to be there, but I hadn't come all the way around. And then a couple that I think will get there, but this is not the year. Which baseball is like that weird sport where nothing about their candidacy will change year to year. Obviously, these
No.
men are retired, but there's something about sometimes like you just got to sit on the ballot for a couple of years for people to really spend all that time discussing your merits,
Mhm.
and then eventually you get there. So. For me, the two, like, they should be in the Hall of Fame, and I'll be upset if they're not this year. Carlos Beltran, he is the top returning vote getter, I believe. I think he had like 70% maybe
Mhm.
around that last year. You need 75 to get in. And correct, right, Jesse? It's 75%.
Yes. Yeah, I
Yes.
believe it's 75.
Carlos Beltran to me, I mean, just at the peak of his position for a long sustained period, I feel like he made a lot of clutch plays, had a lot of home runs, was a very well-rounded player. Not a lot of argument needed there for me. And number two, and this one is also offensive that he's not on the ballot. And I'm gonna have to pull the tab back up because I had his percentage of votes pulled up from last year. And what is Andrew Jones doing on this ballot still,
I have
man?
no idea.
He's 66% of the votes last year. I think it's insane that Andrew Jones is not a Hall of Famer. Just as good as you could hope to see a player, both offensively and defensively.
Hmm.
I feel like what's hurting him is that he played a long time, and towards the end of his career, he just like didn't have it the way that he used to.
Right.
But like he was also old and injured, and I feel like the ability to still show up and be a contributing member of a major league roster should count for something. Baseball's Hall of Fame is weird. It's
It
very
is.
selective. You have to be like the best of the best, which is why it's funny to me when someone like Nick Markakis or Rick Porcello, guys who are very good professional baseball players but don't deserve to be on this ballot. So those are my two that are in. I kind of want to sit with Mark Burley for a little bit.
Okay.
I
I
can't
respect that.
tell if he would be like I would probably give him the vote because I'm not a stingy asshole, but I don't know. His numbers aren't the best, but he was just so consistent and
He was
so
so good.
reliable at the
So good for
peak
so
of his
long.
powers. And I kind of want to sit with that. I thought about K Rod, Francisco Rodriguez. I'd be
Hmm.
interested in his candidacy further. I also thought about Torrey Hunter. I don't know if he has enough. I'm not like a you have to meet this certain stat threshold, but he was Torrey Hunter is like Andre Johnson, right, in the
Yes.
NFL, whereas like you were one of the best at your position for a while, but I just don't really think you're quite a Hall of Fame talent. And
My
then I
issue
think
with sorry, my issue with Torrey Hunter is if Andrew Jones isn't in yet, he's not in yet. Like
absolutely,
Torrey's not
yeah.
in. Until Andrew Jones is in, Torrey's not going. We're not even having that discussion.
And Beltran and Jones are the only people on the ballot that had obviously there's a bunch of new names on the ballot this year, so we don't know where they'll stack. But they're the only guys on the ballot that had at least 40% of the vote last year. So they're probably realistically the only two that we're talking about. I don't think any of the first timers are no doubts. I also just briefly I think Cole Hamels might get there eventually.
Hmm.
And I think Felix Hernandez should.
He
He's
should.
very much his will be an interesting case because he doesn't have the win total that you typically would associate with making the Hall of Fame. But man, he played a lot of
Dominant.
seasons where he would like have like a 2.5 ERA and lose games because his team was bad. He
He's
was
got
just
the
so
Paul
dominant.
Skeens. He's Paul Skeens of his era. I mean, that's
Yes, so dominant at his peak that I feel like the highs were high enough and for long enough that he should be there. Probably won't be realistically, but those are the guys that I was kind of mulling around. So I got Beltran and Jones for sure, and then a couple guys I'm considering. What's your ballot looking like?
so. Let me preface with this that I voted as if I legitimately had a vote and I didn't have to worry about the stupid rules of people having to sit, right? To me, you're either in the Hall of Fame or you're not. I don't
Mhm.
want this like, well, he's a third ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's got to marinate a little bit. No, if he's good enough to make it in year three, he's good enough to make it in year one. And while I do appreciate the exclusivity that baseball's Hall of Fame has, I think that whole waiting years thing is absolutely ridiculous and needs to
Hmm.
go away.
Oh, I
So
agree.
so with that, I actually do have uh, a decently extensive list, I think, of guys
Okay.
who I think. So my bar is you can't really compare statistics from different eras, right?
Yes.
It's a different game nowadays. And I know you and I have joked about this. If Babe Ruth saw a Paul Skeens slider, he'd crap his pants, right? We've had that conversation, right? But he was great in his era. So to me, the threshold for Hall of Fame, can you tell the story of Major League Baseball for the era that this player played in
Yeah.
without mentioning their name? That is my threshold. And that it has to be obviously more than just a flash in the pan. So for me, Matt Kemp not making it, right? Absolutely incredible at his peak, but he was just not there
I don't
long
even
enough
remember seeing him on
to
here.
do it. So here's my list. Beltran and Andrew Jones, I agree with you wholeheartedly. They should have already been in. I don't know why we're having this discussion. Beltran is the best switch hitter of his era, one of the most clutch postseason performers of all time. He was an absolute menace to society multiple times against my Cardinals, and then also as a member of the Cardinals later on in his career.
Hmm.
And shouldn't even be a question at this point. Andrew Jones, the best defensive center fielder of his time. And for a sport that's really trying to figure out how to value defense differently, this is the litmus test for that. How much do you actually value defense? Because if you do, he played in one of the most important positions on the field, and he was the absolute best at it year after year after year. And oh, yeah, he could hit a little bit too. So
Hmm.
to me, makes sense. And I think how Andrew Jones's candidacy is going to affect Yadier Molina's in a couple years once he starts getting into that conversation as well. How much do you value defense? And to
Yeah.
me, you got to value it the same. And we need to figure out a quantifiable way to do that. Felix Hernandez to me is a slam dunk one for that same reason. Is you got to value what he put out there. It's not his fault Seattle was terrible for his entire career, right? You put him on any other winning team during that time, and he's cleaning up everything else. So I watched him with my own eyes. Dude's a Hall of Famer. He was head and shoulders better than just about everybody he faced. And now I do have a couple controversial ones here.
You're gonna go with the steroid guys, aren't
I
you?
am going with the steroid guys.
I couldn't do
And
it, but I understand why.
and I'm going with Manny and Alex for this because again, same reason. You can't tell the story without him. And at the time, early on in their steroid usage, especially, it was not illegal. And we can have the discussions about all the moral stuff and keeping that out of sports. And I agree, it should be kept out of sports. But if it's not explicitly illegal for the vast majority of their careers, what are we doing? Right? And it cracks me up that people have such an issue with Sosa and McGuire. I'm like, wasn't against the rules, right? It was frowned upon, but at the same time, the steroid era saved baseball. And
Hmm.
we can talk about it all we want to, but coming out of the strike shortened season, the Expos leaving Montreal, there was a lot of hatred coming towards the MLB, right? And the steroid era brought it back. And I don't think the league is as strong as it is now. And it's not really even that strong comparatively to other leagues, but I don't think we have the same MLB that we have now without that era of bringing people back and putting butts in seats. I'll be frank. The last two that I had on here was Francisco Rodriguez. He was electric in his time, and then Jimmy Rollins. I thought Jimmy Rollins was really cool, prototypical shortstop, MVP, and captain of a team that was in a tough place to play. Philly is not an easy place to play sports, so
Hmm.
that is my list.
Can I ask you a follow-up to your,
Yes.
because I understand totally. The steroid thing is hard for me because on one hand, I'm like I totally agree with you. Like it is what it is, and like just because these guys are the ones we know we're doing it doesn't mean. I mean, they're clearly not the only ones. They were just the ones
No.
that got caught, the ones that were the poster children. At the same time, though, I'm like it is unethical, whether it was against the rules or not.
Yeah.
But why do you not have A-Rod on there?
I
But
do.
you have. Did you
I said
say
Manny
A-Rod?
and Alex.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, never mind then. I was
Yeah.
gonna be like, is it because he's a dick? Because that's part of why,
That's part of it.
why
But
my, or why not Andy Pettit then? Do you feel like he doesn't rise to the
I don't
level?
think he rose. Honestly, that was just my
Okay,
thing. Is that I just don't think he was quite good enough.
I knew there was one you were forget. I'm sorry, I said
Yeah.
A-Rod. I was
No,
like,
no,
there
you're
was
fine.
one you don't have, and I wanted to ask
The
why.
other thing that pushes me in favor of that is the precedent is already there. David Ortiz is in the Hall of Fame, And we can,
He sure
if we're
is.
going to have debates about it, it needs to be all or nothing, right? And if you're going to put David Ortiz in there, we need to stop pretending like he was, you know, perfectly magically clean his entire career. He wasn't.
He definitely was
No,
not.
he was not. And that's, we can say that's fine. We can say that's not fine, but we can't split hairs on it. It's got to be one or the other. And if you've already put one of them in there, I think you got to open the door.
So, just to kind of like round out this discussion, some guys we didn't talk about. Chase Utley is the third highest vote earner on the of the guys on the ballot, 39.8%. This is his third year on the ballot. Probably means he's going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
He was very, very good. He just didn't meet the bar for me to be Hall of Fame. Um, we and did you had a Abreu, right?
I did not have a
You
Braille.
did not have Abreu. Okay, yeah, neither of us had Bobby Abreu. That was another one where it's like, honestly, I can't really super speak as much to Bobby Abreu's career, but I didn't feel like his numbers super met the criteria as well. And then the last of the top 10 that we didn't discuss in terms of returning vote getters, Omar Vizquel, I feel like we both probably have pretty obvious reasons for why he's not on there.
Yeah.
He's a horrible person, and I think that has to matter.
It
That's why
does.
Kurt Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then, well, I guess he was 10th. I was gonna say Dustin Pedroia, but he's 11th. So, but also like Pedroia again, like very, very, very good, but
Yes. All
not.
the rest of these guys, Hall of very good.
Yes.
Excellent, not taking anything away. And any of these guys should be in their team's Hall of Fame. And I think that's what's really cool about baseball too, is they do a really good job honoring their former players. All these other guys should be in their team's Hall of Fame, no doubt. Be there for opening day every year, have the nice jackets and everything, have their little, spot in the team Hall of Fame museum. But baseball Hall of Fame is restrictive, and I think that has to be reserved for the best.
I made fun of Mark Hakis, but Howie Kendrick might be the funniest person on this ballot. Him or Shin Soo Choo. Both great players, but wow, great. Shin Soo Choo was great. I don't know about Howie Kendrick being great, but I wish him the best of luck on his ballot.
Howie was always my default second baseman in fantasy baseball, and I'd forget to draft one and be like, "Oh, Howie, looks like you're coming back with me again."
He's like that guy on like 2K or Madden that you're just like, how does this guy keep ending up on my team? Like, he's reliable, but like, why is he here all the time?
He was a dude for a little bit in fantasy baseball though, because he could play second, third, and left field. I'm like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
slide you around. You'll hit 260 for me, and we'll have a good time.
Fantasy Baseball Hall of Fame, he's probably right up there, but
I'm
for that
sure.
reason
I'm
alone.
sure. Alrighty, so next segment we're going to do some buy and sell. And the buy and sell this time we're going straight into the NBA. One of my coworkers, shout out to Coach Sobel, who watches this pod quite often.
Thanks,
Um,
coach.
Coach has been asking me, he's like, when are you talking basketball? When are you talking basketball? Well, Coach, here you are. Here is our NBA segment. We'll try to talk more about it as the NFL season wraps up. So buying or selling, same rules apply as always. So first one, trade rumors with Ja Morant. Okay. Are you buying and selling? This is a two-part. Are you buying and selling that it's a good idea? And are you buying and selling that it's going to happen in the first place?
I could not buy enough stock in either question.
Mhm.
Look, I don't think John Morant's a bad player, but I think it's very clear that the Grizzlies team build just hasn't worked.
No.
They already traded Desmond Bain. To me, you're a worse team for doing that. You're
Yes.
building for the future. And it's just odd. There's just so much on-court drama, off-court drama around Ja at this point. I love watching him play. He's a very talented player. I think he has a future. I don't think this is like his career is over and they just got to like sell him off for parts. But I think both sides would just super benefit from a fresh start.
I think so.
You're 17 and 23 this year. You've still had a lot of the injury issues and the unreliability. And at the beginning of the season, he did not look very good. And then he kind of recovered and has played more to his caliber of late. I think they should move on, and I think they will move on. The fact that we're hearing that they're listening to offers and they're making calls indicates to me that even if it doesn't happen before the deadline, I think it'll happen before next year tips off. It's probably coming. It's just I don't know, man. The new CBA and the tax penalties, it make it so hard to see like some of these trades before they happen
Mhm.
financially. But I just have a hard time seeing him being a Grizzly long term.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. I would be completely stunned if he ended up being a Grizzly at the tip-off starting next year. Um, it's sad. It's one of those things that I remember when he was drafted, I put out a tweet and I was like, I think he's going to have a higher ceiling and he's going to have a better overall career than Zion Williamson, who was drafted right before him. And early on in the career, he was making me look like a genius, and I took some serious heat for that tweet. But that being said, he's gotten in his own way so many times. And like you said, the Grizzlies are not in a contending place right now. They're not. Everything went downhill after he said he was fine in the West,
Yeah.
right? As soon as he made that comment, the trajectory of the whole franchise changed.
Pew.
And like you said, he's young enough. He's going to have a lot of ball left in his career, and he's going to do very well for whoever takes him. Because of that, I think it's doubly important that the Grizzlies do it now.
Yeah,
Get
sooner the better.
something, get a massive return for him, rebuild, reset, because you're not going anywhere in the Western Conference. Interestingly enough, and this has nothing to do with this part of the conversation, in a scenario where the league expands, let's say we get two Western Conference teams in expansion. Say Vegas gets one,
Yeah.
and we bring back the Supersonics. In that scenario, Memphis probably moves back over to the East.
Memphis or Minnesota? I've seen both kind of
Yeah,
floated. I don't feel like they really know who they would send east, but it could. I think Memphis makes the most sense
I think so
geographically.
too. Especially because they have all those teams in the Southwest to go play right there. It'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
they're the furthest. I feel like they're the furthest from their division. They're further. I mean, I don't know this. I'd have to actually sit and do
Yeah,
the math, but I feel like they're further than the Timberwolves are from their rivals.
I think so. All right,
Question
next
for
one.
question. I'm sorry. I want to
Yeah,
extend the John Morant conversation
yeah,
briefly. First, I want to ask you. I want to ask you two questions.
yeah.
Number one, who do you think wins the contest between? I apologize to some of our younger listeners, but gun violence signs and issues with John Morant versus Zion Williamson getting internet models with bad BBLs pregnant. Who wins that battle? Because they're neck and neck.
It's a tight race.
Emphasis on tight race.
On Kashi, it's dead even odds right now.
Now, don't give me Kashi. Boo.
I've never even opened it. With that being said, I feel like Zion has to run out of steam at some point, right?
See you
So
say that, but that man, I don't know. I don't know about Zion. I think it's Zion. Ja eventually will like be too old to be
I mean,
well.
if they send Jaw somewhere else, it just depends on where Jaw gets sent, right?
When he
If they
gets sent
send
to
him
Salt Lake City, I mean
right, he
it's
gets sent to
over,
Salt Lake City, it'll be fine. He gets sent to like Detroit, we're gonna have a problem.
yeah. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that. And then my actual real question. You said you trade Ja for a haul. Do you think that haul is out there? Like, what do you think his trade value is realistically? Like, I'm
I
not
think
asking
there's
you to
someone
build me
desperate
a
enough.
realistic proposal, but
It-
I feel like you could get maybe a fur get just I don't think it's as bad as the Trey Young trade where it's clear that you're just trying to
right.
part ways, but I don't know that it's a lot different from that. I feel like you could get a first round pick and maybe a promising player, but you're not getting somebody that you're not getting a potential centerpiece, I don't think.
I think just based off of how young he is, I'm guessing somebody desperate enough would make a dumb move. I really do. I firmly believe in the NBA general managers to do something stupid.
That's true. That's a good point.
And, we never thought Luka Doncic would get traded for
Yeah.
pennies on the dollar. NBA is a crazy, crazy league, and narratives tell the story. They get a good enough narrative out there, and they need to put butts in seats again. There's going to be a team out there that I think is more willing to do it.
Like I feel like I don't know how it would work at all, like logistically. I feel like Miami makes a lot of sense,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
but I just don't know what the package would be, and I don't know. I'd have to noodle on that a little bit more, but I was just curious to your thoughts. I feel like it's probably somewhere between he's they're not getting what for John Morant what they got for Desmond Bain. That's just not
No,
gonna
absolutely
happen.
not. No.
But I also don't think it's gonna be like two expiring contract or an expiring vet and some dude Corey
Right. It's
Kispert.
not going to be Kelly Olynyk in a pick swap.
Yeah,
It's
but it could be like Kelly Olynyk, like the a sixth or seventh man in the rotation, and like a future first. I don't know.
I will say I said Kelly Olynyk in the most disrespectful way possible, by the way. That was
I
meant
know
in
how your household feels about
yes.
Father Olynyk.
Yeah, a quick story on Kelly Olynyk, and my wife and I went to a Pacers Heat game years ago, and Kelly Olynyk flopped his way into getting Thaddeus Young ejected, and my wife booed for the rest of that game. There were people looking at us the entire time, in
Hates
an
Kelly
opponent's
Olynyk.
arena. And I almost proposed to her again. It was great. I had a lovely time. Buying or selling, second one is going to be the Suns being a tough out in the Western Conference. Interested to see what you have to say about this one. Currently the seventh seed in the
Yeah,
West. Do you
shocking.
think
I don't know how they're doing that. Because
that?
regular season basketball. Because I'm selling this. They haven't played so much better than I would have expected.
Mhm.
But if you go look at their like top rotation players, they're like all guards. I just I don't feel like there's enough front court presence on this team to win a playoff series where the defense is a lot more intense. You know, people are able to really more in the NBA in your 82 game regular season, you're not necessarily game planning for specific guys like hunting like this guy is a weak point. We're going to attack him with this and this. You know, you're coming up with a general game plan based on what they've shown and running your stuff and then trying some things and being like, hey, we know that guy doesn't like going to his right. Let's try to force him there. But you're not able to like lock in and really. The playoffs to me are where coaches make their
Mhm.
money because that's when you can see the difference between a team that has a game plan and a team that doesn't. And if I'm coaching against the Suns in the playoffs, if I have a front court of any kind, I feel confident. You know, their guards are like Devin Booker and Grayson Allen and a bunch of guys and Jalen Green that I just do not trust on the defensive end, and I don't feel like they have the low post presence that they would need to really make a series out of it. Now, you know, Devin Booker has a history of winning series that he shouldn't have, but it's pretty distant history at this point, and I just don't have a lot of faith that they'd pull it out. It's a great year for them, and I'm encouraged by their season, but I don't see them as a particularly thorny playoff opponent.
I'm gonna agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I was watching them not too long ago on my phone, just kind of scrolling through games, and I saw the exact same thing you did. There's no front court presence. You start playing that more half court pressure defense situation like you do in the playoffs, and I think they get steamrolled.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think Devin can carry you in points for quite a bit of things, but playoffs are just a different animal with a whole different literal ball game to be played. Um,
If you remove the play in tournament from existence, or you just assume that they hold their 7 seed, they would play the Spurs.
oh,
Um, Mark Williams, I like Mark Williams. I think he's a fine player. He's it. Like it's him and Nick Richards are like their front, and Royce O'Neal, who would be an undersized four. Dylan
and they
Brooks
will
is fine
be
on the wing,
erased.
but I think they would get immolated by Victor Wembanyama.
Yes. Yes, as would most people. Third one here, we got Celtics as a contender. And I'll go ahead and start with this one. I
Yeah,
am buying stock in the Celtics as a contender right now, and I'll tell you why. All right, number two seed in the East currently, which when we talked about our basketball preview, neither one of us were too high on them. I said they'd make the playoffs,
I think I
but they
did
have
not.
exceeded expectations. They also have the number two point differential in the NBA. Now, do I think they're going to beat OKC? No, I don't know if anyone's going to beat OKC this year. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen from somebody in the West. And that is a full stop on that for me. With that being said, do I think they can make it to the finals in this year's East? Absolutely. I see no reason why they can't.
Yeah, I'm soft buying the Celtics. Here's the thing. When I look at their team and I look at their roster, I don't see the path, but they're winning all these games. I mean, they're literally the number
Yeah.
2 seed. And then so I'm willing to give them more benefit of the doubt than like someone like the Suns, for example. Because I think the Celtics issue is very similar. I don't know what their front court situation really is realistically in a playoff series. I don't know. With all due respect to Nemias Queta, I don't know that he's like giving me confidence in a round of seven. However, the Celtics are tested. Yeah, I mean
They are.
Jaylen Brown has had a monster season. But all their guy Derek White has a lot of experience. Peyton Pritchard has been doing his thing for a while now.
Hmm.
They've got guys that have been there. They're always in the playoffs, and I'm willing to give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt, both for that reason and because they play in the East. And like, let's say that again in a world where because it's hard to forecast matchups in a world with the play-in tournament. Well, in a world where that didn't exist, they'd play the Cavs, which would be tricky in round one, but the Cavs haven't been there themselves
No.
for all season. And then theoretically, they would play either the Raptors or the 76ers in the second round. That's a path to the conference finals to me that I think that they could achieve. Like even if I don't super believe in them as again, like you said, I really think that the NBA goes through the West, which is really realistically the Thunder, but whoever wins the West is either the Thunder or somebody that beat the Thunder. And I don't like the Celtics against either of those teams, but I'm soft buying them as a contender in the East.
All right. Next one, we have SGA winning a back-to-back MVP awards. Back-to-back MVP can be tough, especially just after the hype of a year. And I think voter fatigue is 100% a thing because Nikola Jokic has continuously put up MVP-like seasons year after year. And I think the narrative kind of starts to move. With that being said, I'm actually buying SGA as the back-to-back MVP strictly because of injuries and the eligibility
Yeah.
rules that come around with it. Jokic isn't going to be eligible just because of his injuries. Wembanyama is only 3 games away from not being able to even be the defensive player of the year because of that threshold.
Which
So
is
with
just
that,
crazy.
I'm not really seeing any other option at this point. And I think he's a fine back-to-back MVP. It's not a knock on him at all whatsoever. I just don't think the field is as deep as it usually is.
I am selling actually,
Okay.
but I'm not selling everything. Like I might buy back in later because I agree with you. Everything you said is a great point. Voter fatigue is very real. It's hard to win back-to-back MVPs. He has played at that level for sure, but it's just like you said, like Jokic, and I mean, how many times could LeBron have won the MVP and he didn't
Every
just
year.
because he's LeBron James? And there aren't really a lot of great contenders alongside him. That being said, I want to pitch you a world where if he plays enough games, which currently he's pretty much there, Luca could get there.
I would love to see Luca win one. I
He's
really
putting up
would.
some monster numbers. He's never done it. He's leading the league in scoring while still dropping 8.5 assists per game and almost 8 rebounds. He's 33.6 points. The Lakers are really good. I could see the narrative coming together for Luca if it's close at the finish, that the voters give him the slight edge for those reasons. I looked at the odds, and currently SGA has pretty healthy odds, which isn't an end all be all, but kind of gives you an idea of the pulse of what the markets are thinking. But it's really, to me, it's really just those two. Like
That makes
I
sense.
highlighted Jaylen Brown. He's having a monster season, and I think he deserves a lot of flowers for that, which probably will include first team All NBA. I should at least, but I can't quite get there with him for MVP, even though I think he's as deserving as the others. But he's going to score a few points per game fewer, and some of the numbers aren't going to quite hold up. But I'm selling, but I see the path, and I want to check back in right before the close, and then maybe rush in to buy some stock before the markets close.
Sounds good. We got a minute left here before we have our Zoom mandated break. So, quick one. Keontae George, most improved player. Are you buying or selling?
It's gonna take. I'm gonna be honest, Jesse. I have some like real deep thoughts about this one, so
You
we
have the
probably should take a
Keontae George
break.
one of all of
Yes, I
them.
do. We'll take our Zoom mandated break and then we'll come back.
Right, and welcome back. And I've been on the edge of my seat for the last 35 seconds before I sent the email with the Zoom link. Apparently, we are going to have a in-depth conversation about Keontae George on this fine Friday evening that we're recording. So, I'll give you the floor. Are you buying or selling Keontae George as the most improved player?
I hope I agree with you. I assume that I'm not agreeing with you because otherwise the line item would have been most improved player. I'm selling
Okay.
kind of confidently. I like Keontae George a lot. I think he's an improved player. I think he's a really nice piece for a Jazz team that needed a second guy to go with Lauri Markkanen. I love it for him. Whatever's going on over there in the city of Utah, I'm sure is good. They're still bad. They're better than they have been, but they're still bad. And to me, there are two contenders for this award that play for better teams that I definitely feel like, or have taken larger leaps that I feel like are more deserving of this award.
Okay.
Number one is our guy Jalen Johnson in Atlanta. I think he's the top dog for this award. He is dropping 23, 10, and 8, averaging nearly a triple double, and has become the centerpiece of the Atlanta Hawks to the point that they just traded their franchise icon, Trae Young, for pennies on the dollar. I think that he has just gone from, an uber athletic forward that could kind of run the rim, make some plays, pass the ball. He's the centerpiece of what they're doing in Atlanta. And they're in the playoff picture. They are not a confident playoff team, but they're fighting for a play-in spot. Now, obviously, we had much higher hopes for Atlanta that just never really materialized for one reason or another this season. But he has played winning basketball and has been very good doing it. Another guy that I just was like apoplectic almost when I saw his numbers, and I was like, anecdotally that tracks. Denny Avdia is dropping.
Yep.
Did you know he's doing 26, 7, and 7?
He was actually the reason why I wanted to bring this up because when I initially looked this up, Keontae and him were the 1-2
Mm-hmm.
for the odds, and it was interesting to me because I just don't feel like enough people are really talking about Denny.
And the Trailblazers, I'm pretty confident. I guess I didn't write this in my notes because I just trusted my memory. I'm pretty sure they're the 7th seed right now in the conference.
Let me double
And
check that.
I that's crazy. Like if you go look at the Portland Trailblazers, that roster is not a roster that you're looking at and you're thinking, wow, this is like I'm sorry, they're ninth. They're not seventh, they're ninth.
Still, that's playing and
But yeah,
compared to where we
they're
thought they were going to
firmly in the
be.
play-in right now.
Yeah,
They've got a 2-game lead over the Grizzlies and Clippers, who are tied for that 10th spot. Neither of those teams seem to be trending positively. But regardless, the Trailblazers are a team that I would have expected to look at like the Jazz, right? Where it's like we're looking for some nice young players, but like you're not a factor this year.
right.
I feel like those two guys are matching, if not exceeding Keontae for teams that are higher in the standings. And for me, I know it's that almost never comes into play, and this just becomes like who made the biggest jump in points per game award. But I really like just how well rounded those two guys are playing right now.
I'm actually going to agree with you, and I was going to sell that as well in favor of Jalen Johnson. I think he is an absolute baller, and it's funny. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I actually was turned towards Jalen Johnson's game because of NBA 2K. And I just love going through on my GM and building teams and getting young guys. And every single time I've gotten Jalen Johnson, he has just soared. So it just made me like pay more attention to him in general.
Hmm.
And just getting to check in on the Hawks every now and then, he's that dude.
He
And
is.
he really is that dude. And he's not like a high flyer and kind of one dimensional the way John Collins was for a little bit there. Like he is a well-rounded basketball player.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you.
That boy, nice.
I think JJ is my pick if I had a vote.
Yeah. Now, granted, these are three guys that have taken leaps, and they're all very good. And
Yeah,
most improved player is like a stupid award to try to predict because it really
right.
just you have no idea. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, interesting. I see that we agreed. I kind of figured you were going to be pushing a Keontae George agenda when the line item said Keontae George for most improved player. I was like, all right, Jesse's got some Jazz takes. I like it.
All right. We're moving away from sports and we're going into pop culture. And like I said in our last episode, we both really wanted to try to highlight pop culture more on this pod, so it wasn't
Hmm.
just one dimensional. So we have what I think is going to end up being one of our favorite weekly things to do in the playlist game. And we went ahead and gave each other some phrases once again and made playlists out of them. Before we get into this, I do want to share some exciting news about the playlist game. We have made these playlists onto Spotify, and if you go to our Instagram page, which is at Spillin It Pod, there is
Which
a
you probably
link,
already follow.
right? And if you don't follow it, what are you doing with your life? But there is a link on our profile page where you can access all of the playlists that we make for this segment. So feel free to listen to what we're listening to. We put a lot of thought into these. We really, really do. There
Right
it
there.
is.
Just click that link tree, folks.
Yeah. And all of them will just be right there that you'll be able to click and add, and we hope to see some of you guys adding to it. So with that being said, Ben, do you want to go ahead and take it from here?
Sure. Yeah. So the phrase that Jesse gave me this week, also, I think both of us felt like we needed a palate cleanser after two emotionally devastating playlist themes last week.
I was already listening to sad music. If you watched last week's episode with my depressing end there, I was already listening to the sad boy music, so you were just doing my job for me.
It felt like we went a little more positive, although mine could have been, depending on how you interpreted the one I gave you, I guess it also could have been sad.
Yeah.
But Jesse gave me, quote, "Honey, get my dancing shoes," end quote, which I was excited for. I liked that. I thought it was a fun concept. So
Can I
I
do
have,
one thing real quick with
yes.
that? Okay, so this phrase, I did not just come up with this on my own. So years ago, we went to a wedding, and Ash and I met another couple there, and Chad and Gracie, wonderful people, wonderful people. And randomly at one point during the nights, music started playing, and Chad looks over at his wife Gracie, and he was like, "Honey, get my dancing shoes." And it was just
That's metal as
we
hell.
all lost it at our table, and it has been one of my favorite sayings for no reason for the last like 3 years of my life. So shout out to Chad on that one. Thank you for giving me one of my favorite phrases, and now that we can use it into this pod. So go
Hell yeah.
ahead.
I love a phrase with a backstory. My phrase for you did not have a backstory. It was just off the dome, but
Either one.
either one. All right. So on Honey, Get My Dancing Shoes, I think I ended up with 12 songs. I tried to keep it within that 10 to 12
You never were a
range.
rule follower, let's be honest.
No, I struggle with it sometimes. Well, it's hilarious. My wife is probably laughing in the background because sometimes I'm very much a rule follower, and then other times I'm like, let me squeak a couple more in there. But it just kind of depends on the topic, I guess, or the rule. So on Honey, Get My Dancing Shoes, we have I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston, Tiny Dancer by Elton John. Just, two
Excellent.
classics right off the
Oh yeah.
bat. Get
Bangers.
yourself moving, you're grooving. Can I Have This Dance from High School Musical 3,
Very nice.
which was for the longest time a song that I wanted to be the first dance at my wedding. But that was when I was a single man, and then I was persuaded otherwise, and we ended up with a much better choice for our
Your
first dance.
song is great. I actually ended up being one of my top played songs last year on my Wrapped.
Yeah,
Made the
we went
list.
for reference. We went with Your Bones, the acoustic version by Chelsea Cutler. All right. I also have Dancing in the Moonlight. A little bit of a throwback.
Ooh.
Like,
Okay.
your shoulders are starting to shimmy. Like you're feeling good.
Oh yeah.
Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Bangers.
I don't feel like that needs to be explained.
No.
Dance the Night by Dua Lipa from the Barbie movie.
Okay.
Just Dance by Lady Gaga. Bands a Make Her Dance by Juicy J featuring Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz. You need a club
Oh
anthem in
yeah.
there
Oh yeah.
somewhere. Uh,
I was
only
waiting
want
for it.
only want to dance with you by Kesha.
Okay.
Great little like your
Oh yeah.
grooving, kind of a grooving tune. It's one of those you can't stop snapping your fingers. Dance Monkey, just because
Okay.
it's kind of like an
Okay.
earworm. You need
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
like this song. The meaning isn't as there, but it's like you're bopping to it.
You're feeling it.
Dance Till We Die by Lana Del Rey, which is not a dance anthem in the slightest, but I've convinced myself that there's a Lana Del Rey song for every playlist, and so
There
I'm going to
is.
continue. And then Teach Me How to Dougie, which if you're
Excellent way to
keep
end.
teaches you how to dance, and if you're keeping track at home, every single song except for Teach Me How to Dougie had the word dance in it,
Incredible.
or dancing, or
Incredible.
some form of it.
So for mine, we had a bit of an 11th hour switch here. And
Oh, well, I just more rephrased the phrase, but it's the same phrase.
so with the phrase, I got this one, and I also have a little bit of a story to go with it as well. And the original phrase was, I would cut out my own eye just to gaze upon your eyes. And I was like, okay, a little intense, but I feel it. I'm with it. Funnily enough, every time you send me a phrase, I actually Google it just to make sure I'm not missing some pop culture reference somewhere. And when I put it in there, the Google AI responded and it was like, "Are you okay?" There are some resources if you need help.
That's terrible.
So Ben earlier today was like, "Hey, the one I sent you was metal, but I need to we need to adjust that one." So
It's just not really like reasonable.
I got where you were going with it, right?
Yes.
And it didn't change how I built this playlist. So the one that he ended up with was, I would sell my soul to see your eyes one last time. And to me, again, it was the exact same way that I built it originally, so it did not change any of the songs on here. This wasn't like the playful love song. This was like devoted love song.
Yeah, there
Like
you
it
go.
needs to have some umph behind it.
Hmm.
So with that, I was looking at more lyrical stuff, and I was looking at more of that devoted love versus just kind of like that puppy dog, like I have a crush on you, hee hee. So with that, I started off with Daisies by Justin Bieber. I think it's actually one of the best songs of the last year or so. My next
Interesting.
one is It's Not Living If It's Not With You by the
Oh,
1975.
Brilliant choice.
Excellent song. Third song is Love by Kendrick Lamar. And
Great
that
choice.
one, if you're not familiar, folks watching, is really about his life partner that he's had for a long time. She's been there since day one, high school sweetheart, and just reminds me a lot of myself and my wife, also being high school sweethearts.
No.
Um, with All My Heart by Elenium.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I really wanted to fit a weekend song in here, but
Of course you did.
there's been some. This was actually far more difficult than I thought because the weekend songs are either I Want to Die, I'm going to do a mountain of cocaine, or just dastardly deeds. So,
You're forget. There are not as many "You're So Sexy, I Want to Kill Myself" songs as you would think.
right. So I had to find a one that would fit into this, and I went with True Colors by The Weeknd
Yes, I was
from
gonna say, could I
Starboy.
guess? And then I was like, shit, what's that one?
Yes,
True
and
Colors, great
I
choice.
love True Colors. Very much in his R&B era. If you're more interested in that side of him, excellent vocal song as well. The one that came after that is Tenerife Sea by Ed Sheeran. This is actually me and
Great
my
song.
wife's first dance, and
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best modern love songs written. He's got a lot of great ones, but to me that one's always been my favorite. And we also got married the same year that the most popular one was from the same album and we wanted to be just a little different, you know.
You
Um,
hipsters.
so the back half of this is going to be More by Steven Sanchez, and
Huh?
awesome,
Unfamiliar.
awesome song. Love Bomb by The Neighborhood. Running in the Nights by FM84, and it has a really cool 80s theme to it. And to me, I don't think any era of music ever has been better at writing just pure love songs than the 1980s.
Yeah.
Everything is just on top. Um, and I apologize if I get the pronunciation on this one wrong, but Ojitos Lindos by Bad Bunny is going to be the end of the playlist.
Okay, that's a. I look forward to being able to go and access that playlist because there you had a couple songs on there I was unfamiliar with, so I'll have
All
to check
right,
those
I'm
out for sure.
excited.
But I mean, based on the ones I do know, you did a good job.
Thank you. I love this game, by the way.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
It is honestly, it gives me so much fun and like joy throughout the week to think about these. And like, I look forward to kind of putting myself in the mindset of listening to that music and keeps me out of the music rut. So, thank you for your phrase. And I had a really nice time reflecting on my love life.
Yeah, I cackled like a madman at my island when I realized I could build a playlist that would meet the criteria and all have the word dance in it. Definitely feel free to give me like obviously not next week, but in the future, feel free to throw me. I had this whole plan. I was gonna be like, but wait, Jesse, it's like a tortured poets department. There's a secret second side, and then I was gonna give you like real like club songs, and I got about four songs in, and then I'm like, no, this is a bastardization of the game style in a way that I just cannot in full
You
confidence.
can do it. It's our podcast. It
I
doesn't
know it is, but
matter.
it felt against the concept to have two separate playlists. But for the record, the four that I had before I told myself, no, this is crazy, you're insane, like stop, were the Rocky Road, Dylan, Good Girls Go Bad, Crazy in Love, and Temperature by Sean Paul.
You were well on your way to an
I was well
all-timer
on
right
my way,
there.
but I built
You
that
should
one
just put it
separate.
up there anyway so people can have the link to it.
It's only four songs, but maybe.
Alrighty. We'll be back with more playlist game next pod. Having a great time with it. And I think you could probably see that as a staple moving forward.
It's fun, it's easy, it's good content for
So,
sure.
this next one is going to be the first annual award show that we are hosting here on the Spillin It podcast that we are affectionately calling the Spillies.
Love
And
the
this is
Spillies.
going to be our version of the Grammys that we don't necessarily go by all the Grammy nominations. There is going to be some overlap because music is music and good stuff is good stuff, right? But with that
Mhm.
being said, we will bend the rules a little bit because it's our show, and if you don't like it, get your own podcast. So, with
Facts.
with that being said, we have several categories that we're going to go through here. Record of the year, album of the year, best new artist to us that we started listening to. So not best new artist in the sense because apparently
Thank
that
God.
doesn't mean anything in the real Grammys anyway. So best new artist that we started listening to within the last year, producer of the year, songwriter of the year, best song written for a movie, and best album cover. So best like album arts, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. But record of the year, what did you have for yours?
This was tough because there are so many really good albums that and songs that came out this year. Both these categories, record of the year and album of the year, were as hard as it feels like it is for the actual Grammys. But as I started thinking, I just kept coming back to the first song that popped into my head, and that's Secrets by Miley Cyrus.
Ooh,
It
good
is the
choice.
bonus track of her album. Shoot, why am I Something Beautiful? Yeah, I was like, why am I blanking on this? It's one of my favorite albums. I've talked about it on this pod multiple
Yes.
times. I just think it's the best song that I've heard in the last 12 to 16 months. It's so good. The songwriting, the production, the way that it builds and layers upon itself, the way that it has become a song that means so much to my wife and I. Like we love that. We quote it to each other all the time. We listen to it together all the time. It's the best song for me. It's not even close.
Right, excellent choice. I've heard that one and I'm a big fan of it as well. So
Hmm.
definitely can't go wrong. My record of the year is one that it's by one of my favorite artists, and I think it's a really cool, accessible song for people who aren't familiar with his music and can kind of bridge you into who he is. And the song that I chose is Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA. And I listened to it an unhealthy amount, especially right after the Super Bowl halftime show last year. And it's so hard to understate just how on top of the game Kendrick was
Hmm.
for several months at the beginning of 2025, especially coming out of, the beef with Drake and then the Super Bowl halftime show. Just an incredible run by one of the greatest of all time, and in my opinion, the greatest of all time. So mine was Luther.
Yeah, Luther is a great song. Was in heavy, heavy rotation at our house as well.
Right. Next up, we have album of the year. I'll go ahead and start with this one. This one's probably not going to surprise you at all whatsoever. It's by, I think, our co-favorite artist that we have in common. And I went with Hurry Up Tomorrow. And I know there are qualms with the back half of the album being inconsistent, but that first 6 or 7 song run of Hurry Up Tomorrow is just unstoppable to me. And then even in the back half, you have Niagara Falls. You just have some absolutely beautiful songs. Give Me Mercy is an incredible tune.
Hmm.
So, Hurry Up Tomorrow was my most played album within the last year, and it sucks that Abel and the Grammys don't get along because
Because he
we're
got
not
shut
even gonna
out.
have an option for him to be up for these awards, and I understand why he doesn't put it in there. So I will give it its recognition that it fully deserves, and I will give it Album of the Year.
I think I read that he actually did submit this year and they shut him out.
Oh
So
my gosh, if that's true, that's
yeah.
insane.
Well, there's yeah, like you alluded to, there's a long history of some perhaps frosty relations between the two parties. So I can't say that I'm shocked that they froze him out. I also feel like you and I love the album, I think, more than most people do.
Yeah.
And so I can kind of see them being like, "Well, buddy, this isn't even your best stuff," because like that's what they would say to him. But
But they shut out his best stuff anyway, so
yeah, I support your choice. So for me, this also was there's a lot of great albums that came out that I liked. This was also, however, kind of a no-brainer to me. My album of the year is At the Beach in Every Life by Gigi Perez. Just truly like so she Sailor Song was her like big like viral hit that made her super popular. And this album is so good. It's like folksy pop, alternative type music. And it's not what I usually would like listen to. If you know me, that's not usually my
right.
heavy rotation, but every song on the album is just so gut-wrenching and good. And I spun it constantly. I say spun it like I do have a record player, but that's obviously like I'm usually using my Spotify. But I listened to it constantly. It was a great album. Like I would throw it on at work and just like I had to stop doing that because I would just be sitting there like listening and enjoying to the album or enjoying the album instead of like doing my job. So I started playing more instrumental music. But man, it's just truly such a good album. And the title track, "At the Beach in Every Life," is the best song on the album to me. from top to bottom though, like they're a little longer sometimes, but in a good way. Great album. Uh, Easy choice for me.
I'm not too familiar with the album in general, so you're definitely putting me on game here. I'll be listening
I
to it this
ordered the
weekend.
an autographed vinyl because she's
Nice.
large enough that like people know who she is, and she's up for like some
Right.
Grammy nominations and such.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's small enough that she's accessible. And
Yeah.
so she was selling a vinyl of her album. I was like, I have to buy this album.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to own it because I want to listen to it on vinyl. And for like 45 or $50, I got the autographed vinyl,
Yeah, you might as
which
well.
I was like, that's like what a vinyl really costs anyway.
Right.
So it was really cool. So we have the vinyl out here, like able to be in rotation, but I'm gonna frame the art cover,
Nice.
and put it in the in a case or something and hang it up somewhere.
Very nice. This is, as you can tell by going on, behind me, if you've been watching this pod at any length at all whatsoever, this is a very pro vinyl household over here.
Yes,
So,
pro vinyl
um,
pod.
excellent, excellent choice. Next one, we got Best New Artist. And again, the caveat with this one is Best New Artist to us that we started listening to within the last year or so. And I really struggled with this one because
It was tough.
it was very tough. And a lot, honestly, all of these choices were pretty tough. But for me, I really have been trying to branch out my music a lot more and try to get more of a worldly musical taste. And I almost went with Olivia Dean, and I know she's kind of the favorite to win it for the real thing, and she's excellent, don't get me wrong. But there's been an indie pop songwriter named Dayglow that I've been listening to a lot over the last 6 months or so, and his music just calms me. There's something about it that it's got a lot of earworm stuff to it, but it brings my anxiety level down, and it's really easy to work to. So there's been a few of his songs that I've listened to that I've enjoyed very, very much. Can I Call You Tonight is one of them. Excellent song. But that is going to be my Spilly for Best New Artist.
I have heard of him, but I don't think I'm familiar with his stuff, so I'll have to check him out. I really struggled with this one, mostly because I think I struggled not because I'm like I've only listened to the same people for all time, but I think I just struggled to identify like who was somebody that I really started listening to in the time frame that Jesse specified, which was since August of 24. And I ultimately ended up coming back to a name I had thought of early, and I was like, well, that's true, but like I'm gonna keep brainstorming. His name is Jorge Rivera Herons. I'm not exactly sure. He is responsible for something called Epic the Musical, which,
Oh.
spoiler alert, is about the Odyssey. Um, what a shock! But
You have
it's
a type.
I do have a type, but it's actually a really cool story. So it was his thesis project at Notre Dame,
Okay.
and he produced this entire musical about the Odyssey, and then it never got like produced because there's kind of currently and has been for a couple of years like this kind of like battle between like who really owns the rights to this, but
Right.
he cast this musical on TikTok, and then recorded it like in a studio recording and released it. And it's so good. Like not only is it subject material that I enjoy, but it's just like the songs are really good. Honestly, it's like to me, it's like if the Odyssey got like the Hamilton treatment
Ooh, okay.
where it like just a leveling up musically in a way that you're like, I don't know how I would have thought this would have gone down. And
Yeah, yeah.
all the songs on there are different. You know, there's like the powerful ballads, there's the slow, quiet songs, and everything in between. And discovered him towards the end of 2024, early 2025, and just have been kind of obsessed with that entire collection of music. So he was my choice for best new artist.
Awesome. Awesome. Next one, we got Producer of the Year. And this is the one that I will say I kind of cheated on, where I know he had significant work released this year, but this is more of a last several years legacy pick for me. But he did have stuff this year that was good, so I'm still within the parameters of it. But
First year of the
producer,
Spillies, and we're already handing out lifetime achievement awards.
you know what? And once you hear who I picked, I think you're going to be okay with it. But the Spilly for producer of the year for me is going to be Metro
Metro
Boomin.
Boomin. Yeah,
Yep.
I knew you. I
Metro.
knew that as soon as you started introing this,
Yep.
because I did the same thing. I was like,
Yep.
"What has he put out?" And his two most recent albums with Future, "We Don't Trust You" and "We Still Don't Trust You," which would have
Banger.
automatically vaulted him to this award for me, were outside
Yes.
of the realm or outside of the date range. So I was like, "Damn."
But he did have some of the work on Hurry Up Tomorrow, so that kept
Yes, he
him
did,
in.
which I did write down on my
Yep.
notes as I
So
still considered him.
Metro was my choice for producer of the year, and really one of the people I don't think people appreciate enough and won't until his body of work is being looked at, a couple decades from now. Like, man, he was on some kind of magical run. We need to appreciate his magical run while he's on it right now.
Did you listen to, I forget the name of it, but his major project that he put out last year was an album basically about like Atlanta hip hop.
Yes,
He,
it was
honestly,
phenomenal.
that specific sound is not always my favorite, but it is so cool and so authentic that he was just
Yep,
like, you know what, this is what Atlanta sounds like, and I'm
yep,
gonna bring that and lend my name and my credibility to that.
yep.
It was a really cool project.
That's going to age so well.
Yes.
It's going to age so, so well.
I love that. I love me some Metro Boomin. I had a tie here, Jesse. This is also the award where I cheated,
Okay.
because I couldn't pick between two. So we've got co-producers of the year, which I don't think the Grammys does. But you know what? This is the Spillies, baby. We're doing
It's a
it.
Spilly. We can do what we want.
So I had two here, and it's because they were both strong candidates with obvious flaws. Jack Antonoff is one of them.
Yes.
Not for He didn't work with Taylor this year.
Yep.
Not that I think I would have put him in this for his work with Taylor. He does good stuff, but I don't think it's like producer of the year.
Yeah.
My thoughts on Man's Best Friend by Sabrina Carpenter as an album, I don't really listen to it a lot. I think it was
Yeah.
mostly a miss for me. However, what I consistently say about it is the Jack put his whole soul, like bodied
He
his
he
production.
really did.
It's part of what
He
frustrates
really
me about
did.
the album is I feel like Sabrina leans too hard into the ooh, I'm a flirty little girl making like sex
Hmm.
jokes and not as much into like her talent. And like he gave her some bumping beats
Yep.
and some like really dreamy synth pop and some like kind of 80s influences and
Yep.
he did really good there. GNX also had a lot of Jack Antonoff.
Yep.
And so that kind of gave him credibility there. And then his co-winner is Pharrell Williams,
Yep.
who the reason why he wasn't an individual winner is because this is really based on one project, but it was so good that it vaulted him up to the top. Let God Sort Him Out by the Clips.
Yep.
Truly transcendent hip hop album. Clips is like one of those names in hip hop where they had such a high peak and
Yeah.
Pusha T obviously has had much more success than Malice, but that album and everything about it
So
was
good.
just so good. And Pharrell was the only producer on that album. And it's just a sound like when you listen to that album, you know exactly how you're supposed
Hmm.
to feel and what it's supposed to emulate. And it's just so sonically cohesive and just sounds like they recorded it in 2006 and just found it like on a flash drive.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, oh, let's put this
That
back
was the
out.
goal.
Like it's so good. So Pharrell and Jack Antonoff are co-winners for me.
Excellent choices. And honestly, I think we have three of the best in the game right now as
Yeah.
our choices. I really do. Next one, we got Songwriter of the Year. And I know you and I both struggled with this one.
So
And
bad.
I almost joked with you and asked if it was going to be Sabrina for her work on Man's Best Friend.
It
She,
was never gonna be Sabrina. One of the Cheyenne and I were talking about this, and I was like trying to like, yeah, I mean, not that I know a ton of songwriters off the dome, but I'm trying to think of like albums and stuff that came out that I really liked, and then maybe I'll just pick somebody from there.
yeah.
And I was like, I looked at the Grammy nominations for help, and it didn't really help me. And Cheyenne made like the same joke about like Man's Best Friend. It's like actually the girl that helped write Sabrina a lot of that with her is nominated for the Grammy
Oh man.
in this category.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's a
Uh,
tough scene.
I'll go ahead and drop mine since I've
Yeah.
already yapped. And I gave away my thought process. I ended up going with and again, like this award was tough for me. I obviously know that, artists use songwriters and all that. So I know that
Yeah.
it's not just like Taylor Swift by Taylor Swift.
Right.
But I went with so I'm not as familiar with this man, but he was on every track of an album that I really have already highlighted on this.
No.
Michael Pollock, who helped Cyrus write Something Beautiful, which I've
Yeah.
shouted its praises on this podcast episode, on others. The whole album,
Probably in future ones.
yeah, probably future ones. The whole album is really good to me, and he was the only co-writer that I saw and could identify in my check, which doesn't mean it's accurate, it just means that's what I saw. That was on all those songs with Miley. So I imagine that he had a huge role in that album, and so kind of by default, kind of by like you did stuff that I like, he was
Yeah.
my songwriter of the year.
So this is one I went to the actual Grammy nominations to look at, and thought it was interesting that two of my songs that I really liked from this year, as far as like how they were written and the composition of them, were written by the same guy named Tobias Jesse Jr. And he wrote Daisies by Justin Bieber and Man I Need by Olivia Dean, two artists that I've already mentioned throughout this podcast.
Mhm.
And he's going to get that for me just because I think that's a direction pop music needs to be going in right now. I think we need to get back to more of that poetic language in our pop songs. And I think both of those songs highlight strong writing. I do. I think we're hopefully getting back to a point in time in music where what they're saying means something. And I think that's important.
Absolutely, I'm with you, man. I think your choice holds more weight than mine, but
No, no, it makes sense. I mean, you if it's your album of the year, it should be up for that as
well, it
well.
wasn't my album of the year, but it did have my record of the year.
Record of the year. I'm
But
gonna put it.
it was another album. When I said I considered several for album of the year, there was clearly based on the
Oh
way I've
yeah.
talked about it, it was one of my contenders.
Right. We got two Spillies left here. This next one's gonna be song written for a movie. And this was a tough one for me for a little bit until I remembered there was one movie that had outside of Sinners, and honestly, I did not choose a Sinners song because I knew that was gonna be
I was
yours.
gonna say when you put this on here, I'm like Jesse could pick
I
this.
wrote this for you, and I specifically did not choose a song from Sinners so you could have your moment for it. And I wanted you to have that is my gift to you.
Wow.
So with that, I went in a different direction, and I went with Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters,
I
and
knew you were gonna do K-pop Demon Hunters, but
yeah,
I was like, if he's not gonna do Sinners, it's probably K-pop Demon Hunters, which
and
is
honestly,
that's yeah,
being a school and an education employee,
heard it a lot.
I've heard it a lot. Yep, it's pretty hard to escape, but man, does it slap.
It's gonna win the actual Grammy,
Yep,
unfortunately. I say unfortunately, it's a great song,
yep,
very deserving. We just all know where I lie here.
yes.
Do you have more thoughts on Golden? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to
No,
cut.
no, no. This was literally this category was written for you
Okay,
to
yeah, so
use.
it's
So
Sinners, obviously.
I'm you.
The the specific song that I chose, which is a little bit of a cop out because it's the one that honestly most people know, is I Lied to You. It's such I feel like I can't overplay how much I love Sinners. I think it's probably my favorite movie of all time. I've really gestated that since I saw it. It's just so good. And we're not here to talk about the movie though. We're here to talk about the song. I Lied to You is just this beautiful meld of blues and modern music and all the things stops in between. And just the way that Miles Catton's voice trails off into the horns towards the end of the song it takes my breath every single time that I listen to the song. And I listen to the radio edit sometimes, but no, man, you got to give me the whole five
Hmm.
minute the movie because that scene also um in the movie is I can't get it out of my brain with the song. It's just it's one of the best scenes of a movie in some time. It's so good. I do want to read you a direct quote from my notes here. I wrote I lied to you and then I put honorable mention any of that shit. Because honestly any of it. The Pale
Yeah,
Pale Moon is also a great song. I ride really hard for the Haley Steinfeld song on the album Dangerous. I think it's mostly motivated by the actual production of the song and not as much
right.
Haley. She does a good job. It's just not it doesn't hold up. Seance also really great from that soundtrack. I could go on. I would just be reading the whole track list, but Um, Ludwig, when Ludwig Göransson does not win for original motion picture soundtrack, I will riot in the streets. Although they did just win, was it the Golden Globe?
Hmm.
He won something for Best Composer, and it was like, it's crazy, man, how much I love this movie that I'm like, if you follow me on social
Emotionally
media,
invested.
I'm so emotionally invested in these award shows, even though it doesn't matter. My life will not change, but I want this movie to get the flowers it deserves.
Absolutely. So, our last one, we only got a couple minutes before we go on to our break. And I know this is the category that you requested. So, we'll probably spill over into the next one with our spillies
Ah,
here.
ah,
Uh, uh,
ah.
uh.
Probably. It's probably safe. I had a couple honorable mentions in this one because
Yes.
this was a really unique category that's brand new to the Grammys that Jesse, for the peel behind the curtain, Jesse came up with this concept and then I added this final Spilly in there because I think it's really cool that it's a Grammy category now. It's best album cover. So
Yes.
Jesse, you wanna flip to the old third Zoom call here and then we'll
I feel
uh
like
we'll
I
we'll
can get mine in
discuss.
first, and then you
Oh,
can do
go
yours
ahead.
on the
Yeah,
other
please.
side. Um, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the whole thing because I am going to butcher it. But for mine, I went with
The
DTMF
Yeah,
by
David Tirar Mas Photos.
yes, and by Bad Bunny, and just I know there's a lot of things behind it and cultural things that I obviously don't understand myself, but I think it's such a cool thing that his stuff has become so popular worldwide that we're not just putting his music into best Latin album, right? He is the Super Bowl halftime show, right? He is so big, and I absolutely love Bad Bunny's music, even if I only understand about a third of what he's saying. And it's something that, interestingly enough, my AirPods that I wear as my hearing aids, they do the live translation. And I was listening to one of his songs out loud, and all of a sudden Siri started reading like the song
That's
lyrics
crazy.
to me in English. I'm like, ah.
That's too much. Stop it.
But no, that was my favorite album cover just because of the cultural significance and just because Bad Bunny is awesome.
It also just goes dummy. The
It
two
really
plastic
does.
chairs out like it just
Incredible.
goes so dummy. It was on my list. Well, I'll take a brief pause here and then you know what? I'm gonna edit this part out. Spoiler alert, because I'm gonna make
Nope,
this
we're leaving it in. We don't edit this.
or leave it in. Who knows? All
Nope.
right, I'll call you in a second. So for me, honestly, Jesse, the best album cover this was the one that I had the most actually written down, and I'm gonna make a choice here live. I really didn't
Oh,
pre-show. I had two, and I was like, you know what? In the moment, I'm gonna go with what feels right. My honorable mentions include "Let God Sort 'Em Out," the
yep.
clips. It's just it's awesome. It's iconic. It wasn't enough to win for me. Alfredo 2 by Freddie Gibbs, which
Okay.
was I do want to highlight briefly. So it's a man holding like pairs of chopsticks and like a ramen cup, which is ironic because it's Alfredo 2. But the way that they promoted this album, um, billboards started showing up in LA with a phone number that led you to a voicemail message of a Japanese speaking woman asking for a top chef who doesn't fold under pressure, which is like one of the hardest rollouts possible. And then they
Outrageous.
Craigslist ads. So TMZ traced that phone number to these Craigslist ads touting Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist as American restaurateurs coming together to open their first restaurant in Tokyo. Just hard album rollout.
Yep.
Sometimes rappers do too much. Sometimes they do just right. So that was an option for me. Haley Williams, "Ego Death" at a bachelorette party. I think just like the album cover represents the music in it so well. But I am actually going to agree with you on this one. We're co-giving the Spilly to Bad Bunny because it's just so for all the reasons I don't need to repeat what you said because I also kind of already joined in that conversation. But it just goes so dummy and it's just so cultural. I also my other contender was "At the Beach and Every Life" by Gigi Perez. I just really love that album cover, but I tried hard not to double up um Spillies because technically best new artist for me would be Gigi Perez. Like she's new
Right.
too since then, but I wanted to highlight somebody else and not be like the real Grammys where sometimes
That
it's
was the
like,
hardest thing
okay,
because I feel like I could have given GNX so many different things on this.
right.
but I'm like, no, I gotta split it up a little bit.
We like sharing what we like too much to really like be ruthless. But I'm gonna go with Bad Bunny as well. Which is actually he is actually nominated for this real
He
Grammy.
is.
So
He
if the
is.
Spillies, are any indication, I like his chances in February.
Alrighty, so that is the Spillies. We will bring back another edition of the Spillies in March when we have the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I know we already did a little Oscar-esque show with our favorite things, but we'll make it a little more
Well, I don't think
official.
we've done like good. We did the like the bad movie
Oh
Oscar.
yeah,
We
the
did the
bad
like the
Oscars,
Razzies, but we haven't done the actual like. Hey, these are actual good movies that came out this year.
which I think we already know where your awards are all gonna go, but it'll still be
So
fun to
called out, but it's so correct.
alrighty. So that's it for the big segments. This last one that we're going to do before we say goodbye was more something that you just kind of wanted to share, and then I have some things I want to share. So take it away.
Yeah, so tentatively, I'm gonna call this the cleanup because we're spilling it during the episode, and then this end is kind of like just a couple odds and ends where they're not thoughts necessarily that make like a full in-depth segment for us, but just a couple things that I wanted to mention or highlight as things that I'm enjoying, things that I'm looking forward to. And I put in the notes. I mostly just want to talk about these two things, and then I'm excited to hear what Jesse adds to it as well. Number one, I really just want to talk about Tomb Raider. If you haven't seen the first promo image of Sophie Turner as Lara Croft has hit the internet, and she looks insane as Lara Croft. Like it
Literally pulled
looks
off of the
so
off of the
good,
screen.
and it's the iconic Lara Croft outfit, and I love Tomb Raider. They're games that we've talked about like Tomb Raider and Uncharted and games like that we really enjoy. And this is like the third or fourth time that they're gonna try Tomb Raider as a franchise. And you know what? Just keep doing it, even if it's the same every time.
Yeah, why
I
not?
I I just have I will sign up. And it's one of those shows that like they announced, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then you forgot it was happening, and now they're
Yep.
in production. So it'll be a while before we get there. But I just wanted to highlight. I'm excited. I think Sophie's a talented actress. I'm interested to see her take on Lara Croft. She's got the accent already, so
Yeah,
she's good there.
that helps.
And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, I wanted to get on my soapbox a little bit. Uh, Podcast has featured a surprisingly little amount of comic book talk for two comic book
Mhm.
guys, but I wanted to highlight. So Marvel Comics has been doing for the last couple years this alternate universe called the Ultimate Universe, which
Yeah, yeah.
they had a previous Ultimate Universe that was kind of like meant to be more gritty, realistic takes on their characters, and then it kind of just like I don't know, they did some really weird stuff in there, and it lasted for a while, and it was like their primary like alternate universe, and now it's the new Ultimate Universe because the old previous one died in a comic book event we don't have time to talk about, but they tried this new one, and it basically the premise is. There's this villain in Marvel Comics. He's an alternate universe version of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. He's called the Maker. And he left the main. Wait, he's from the original Ultimate Universe. That was one of the weird, like the changes that they made. But actually, it's so cool because it's like, what if the smartest superhero alive was evil?
It was bad, yeah.
And it's really good stuff. Great character design. He was in the mainstream, the 616, the main Marvel universe. And then he left and went to this pocket universe where he basically the whole premise and his plan was like, I want to alter reality here and history to remove threats to my power and just kind of like this entire universe is like my sandbox to do whatever I wanted.
Hmm.
So he changed, like he kept the spider from biting Peter Parker. Um,
Wow.
he like had his like minions like murder like Black Bolt of the Inhumans, like so the
Wow.
Inhumans couldn't be a threat, and like he sent people into space to take care of like some of the the alien and cosmic characters that show up in Marvel, and he caused an accident to make Hank Pym like dumb, and so he's not like a brilliant scientist
Hmm.
and all this jazz, and so it ends up with this adjacent universe where there's like some characters that are good that are bad and some that are bad that are good and some that are pretty similar. Peter Parker, spoiler alert, does become Spider-Man, but much
Oh,
later in life as a father and
interesting.
of two kids. And it's some of the best stories that I've read in comics in the last 10 or so years are in this Ultimate Universe. The
Hmm,
Ultimates, which is their Avengers story. Denny Camp, please like notice me, Senpai. You are so, so, so good. Just truly like some people think of superhero comics and they're like, yeah, it's just like action figures playing. But Denny is writing like really, really like trenchant stories about oppression and what it means
hmm.
to resist um, power and the abuse of power and
That's
what it means
timely.
to fight for ideals and to believe in ideals. And it's such good storytelling. There's one issue of the Ultimates that's done. It's like four boxes on each page, and like the top line on each page is one story, and then the next line is another, and they're all connected. It's insane.
That's
It's some of the
awesome.
best. And Peach Momoko has been doing this radical reinvention of the X-Men in this like radical art style that nobody else is doing. Some of those books are just and the Ultimate Spider-Man, which has not really landed all on all its promise, but has had some really cool
Yeah,
ideas and moments. It's just its ending. The reason I bring all this up is that they're doing this whole like ultimate endgame, which one of the covers that they released was like an alternate version of like the Avengers Endgame movie poster, but they just
that's
put
so
all the
cool.
heroes in the spot. Yeah, it is really cool. I think it's stupid that they're ending this because there's so much story potential and like so much that they could still keep doing, and I just really love a lot of these versions of these characters and a lot of these stories, but it's currently in the middle of its ultimate endgame, and all the heroes who mostly have been kind of disconnected from each other are uniting to fight the Maker, who has been trapped for a couple of years, and they've been like building up this resistance to him because he runs the world and he has this council that runs the world. So anyway, that is a lot longer than I meant for it to be,
No, that's
but
awesome. I was
I
captivated.
I just want to see DC is kind of doing a similar concept with their Absolute Universe experiment that they're doing, except they were like, hey, so this isn't ending. We're gonna keep going because we're not dorks. But I love seeing Marvel and DC really taking big creative swings with some of their characters in these alternate universes, and I'm really devastated that the Ultimate Universe is ending, and I just hope that some of these ideas and concepts like people just continue trying new things.
Well, and that's how innovation happens with this category anyway. I mean, if you think about it, the characters that, Spider-Man and all these characters that are so ubiquitous now started off as massive creative swings, right? Can you
Yes.
imagine going into some place without having knowledge of Spider-Man and being like, "Hey, I got an idea. This teenager who's kind of a nerd gets bit by a bug and gets superpowers from that bug, and he acts like that bug." Right? Can you
Yes.
imagine like pitching that to somebody and being like, we're gonna have a whole storyline about it, and it becomes the most iconic character of the last like 100 years, right? It's one of those things that you're supposed to want to continue to push, and I think using characters that we all know and love in these almost what if situations almost always pays off if it's done well, especially.
Yes. And
Yeah.
like Spider-Man, like Uncle Ben is alive, and
Oh my
he
gosh,
and J. Jonah Jameson are like BFFs, like golf buddies. Like they're running this like underground newspaper together,
that's
and
crazy.
it's just this awesome inversion of Spider-Man of like here's this character that always talks about responsibility because that's the lesson that he learned from Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben is alive, but now his responsibility comes from I'm a father. I have a
Yeah.
family. Like how can I make the world safe for my family? And I have this destiny that I always felt like I was robbed of. And then it's honest, it's so cool. Tony Stark is like one of the main characters, but it's like young Tony Stark, where his
Hmm.
dad Howard was really like sacrificed himself to like make this possible and trap the Maker and give all the heroes like a chance,
Wow.
basically. And then they had all these packages of like power, like these boxes, and they gave them to like the Peter Parkers and such. And it's like this was your what you were meant to become before you
Yeah.
were robbed of it. And then it's the whole universe is like what like or not the whole universe, but a lot of the characters. It's like what who are you and what do you become when you're given the chance to have these incredible powers
Hmm.
um, gifted to you, and you just like have to kind of pick up from there. And some of the ideas did not land. Like Winter Soldier Wolverine was an insanely cool idea, and that book just ended up being like basically like every other X-Men book. It wasn't as they didn't follow through on the cool premise, but the premise was dope as shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. Anyway,
Oh.
that's enough from me. I could go for 2 more hours, but
Yeah, that was awesome. We'll have a lot more to talk about with Marvel this year, and really the future of the MCU is kind of at stake with the films that we have coming out this year. But again, we have plenty of time to talk about that over the summer. So for me, I really wanted to take some time to talk about some video games I'm excited about that are coming out. First and foremost is Animal Crossing's update is out. I have not had a chance to play it just yet, but that was a day one pre-order for me to get the Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade as well.
Mhm.
But really excited. I'm hoping that the hotel has a different setup than the Happy Homes Paradise DLC. But if not, I am happy that it's more of an accessible way for people to be able to decorate more without having to pay $30 for it. I do appreciate Nintendo very much pushing this update out after they said years ago that it was done, that the game was essentially dead.
Mhm.
So, really, really cool of them to give people a reason to come back to it, but also makes me think, are they getting people re-interested in this game
Because they got a
for
new one
a
coming.
potential new launch coming out here? If that's the case, I'm fine with it. I'll be there for it and I will be camped out ready to purchase. Some other games I'm excited about. Mario Tennis Fever is coming out. I
It
wasn't,
looks good.
it looks really good, and I was not in love with the original Switch's generation of Mario Tennis. And I think with the Mario sports games, they have to continue pushing it in different directions. And I saw what they wanted to do with the with Mario Tennis Aces, but I just didn't think the original Switch had the capabilities for that vision to be seen out. Now with the new Switch coming out, I'm really excited to see what they're able to do with this because it does have more capabilities and just graphic improvements as well.
And I
And-
also, real quick, Jesse, the
yeah,
original line of Mario sports games on the Switch just felt so incomplete. I'll
yeah,
never
it
forget
did.
the disappointment I had when my friends and I downloaded the soccer game, the new Mario Strikers, and
Yeah,
like, you couldn't even play with 4 people on a team, and it just
crazy.
felt like very shallow. Mario Golf was really the only one that had like any real depth to it to me,
Yeah.
and even that was kind of shallow. So, but the new the Mario Aces, right, is the name of it. The
The new one, this one's Tennis Fever. Aces was the
Tennis
previous
Fevers.
gen.
Yeah, I always get them confused. I'm like, I don't know, the new one.
Yeah,
But it looks really good. Yeah,
it looks really
I'm
fun.
behind you with that one.
And on a separate note, talking about Mario Strikers, if you have the subscription that you can play some of the old games on it, on
Yeah,
the Nintendo GameCube version, you can go back and play the original Strikers, and man, that game holds up.
it was so good.
It holds up. I love the art style of that game. It's definitely the most violent Mario game out there. I mean, you're
Which
throwing
is
people
saying
into
something.
electric fences. It's a good time. It's a good time. So Ash and I have been playing it. We played it a bunch on our cruise. I brought my dock and I put it into the TV in there. We were just playing strikers for several of the nights that we were on the ship.
Hmm.
And then the last one I'm excited about, you know as well as I do, I've been a fan of the 007 games, even if not all of them have been great. You know, a lot of the older ones people loved, and obviously N64 era was excellent. I always played Agent Under Fire, and I will preface that was a terrible game. Mechanics awful, physics non-existent. None of it made sense, but man, did I have fun with the Q claw and clawing around those random places. None of it made any sense at all whatsoever, but the multiplayer was so fun for no reason. But there's a new story. It's a single player game, a new story game coming out May 27th that I'm very excited about
It looks
that looks
gorgeous.
really good. And they delayed it. And honestly, with video game delays, I know they're frustrating, but after what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, I really just kind of let it happen at this point. If you're cooking up something good, I can wait, right?
Yeah,
I would much rather have a finished, polished game on release than to have something half baked and then you got to push out, a 14 gigabyte update just to make the thing playable. I
yes.
think one of the best examples of this, of a game company doing this the right way, was the recent Indiana Jones game that came out. I think it was The Great Circle. That game was so polished when it came out. I remember I played it on launch night and it was just so well made without really any hitches at all whatsoever. That's what I want to get back to. The other thing is too, and I know this is a massive complaint that has nothing to do with any of this. Can we please just have a game where when you get it, you can just play it and you don't have to worry about microtransactions.
Yeah.
I don't need a season pass for a story-based game. I just want to play the game,
I
right?
agree. I'm with you so much. Like, I understand why microtransactions exist, and in some games, sure. But yeah, no, if I'm playing like a single player story game, like get that shit out of here. Like,
Yeah.
who cares?
Or like the games that I don't need Wi-Fi to play a single player game. I don't.
Yeah.
You don't need me to connect to the internet for that, right? And I understand 2K, Madden, the games that you have the card
I
packs and
don't.
stuff.
I
Right.
think it's predatory as hell.
It is. Oh, it's extremely predatory, and the card packs especially are essentially legalized gambling for kids.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other soapbox that we can get on a different pod that we probably will. And honestly, gives me an idea for a couple weeks from now. But with that being said, that's what I could hear her laughing at me in the background. Those are the games I'm excited about. Obviously, GTA coming out later in the year, but I'll keep updating the
Allegedly.
list. Allegedly, we'll see. We'll see.
Allegedly. Yeah, I don't know. GTA is kind of like Elder Scrolls 6 where they announced it was coming like 4 years ago and have re-released Skyrim like twice since, but not any updates about Elder Scrolls 6.
But anyway, that's what I have on my slate coming up for what I'll be playing. And if you haven't gotten a Nintendo Switch 2 yet, I can honestly recommend that you can wait a little bit longer. It's it's great. I love it, but it's not a need right now. It's everything else that you can do on it, pretty much you can do on the regular Switch. It can wait a little bit longer. I got it on launch day. I was excited for it, but in reality, there's not enough with it yet that I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad I have this because I have this piece."
Yeah, I still have my original Switch. Eventually, I will probably feel forced to buy the Switch 2, but I haven't reached that point yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably when
and
like new Fire Emblem and new Zelda come out, I'll be like, hmm,
that's probably time then.
yeah.
But yeah, as of right now, if you don't have FOMO, for anyone watching that doesn't have one yet, it's fine.
Yeah, maybe in a raise or two from now.
Yeah, that'd be nice. What are those?
I don't know, man. They
Um,
exist somewhere.
all right, well that was a great episode. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Feels weird, my eyes switching a little bit, not talking football, but I think this was healthy for us.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk, like Jesse said, like we'll do some awards upcoming. We will do some off-season content, but we don't want the podcast to only be NFL. It just, that was a good thing for us to kind of center on, get our feet wet. And by the next season, we'll probably have a more balanced um, approach because we will want to talk a lot more pop culture. We want to talk more basketball for sure and just like have more flexibility. So sorry if you loved the weekly picks. There were only 2 games this or 4 games this weekend, and we, like Jesse said, we already kind of previewed a little bit those last week. Just don't go back and listen to what I picked. And
Surely.
just don't worry about it, and we're good.
Alrighty. We will be uploading a new playlist here shortly to our link tree. So if you want to listen to the songs that we talked about on this episode, those will be ready for you here probably in the next couple days, or honestly, probably by the time this episode is published. So
Probably.
with that being said, we will catch you all next week. Thank you as always for tuning in. For Ben, I am Jesse, and this has been the Spillin It Podcast.
Catch you later, guys.